Come on. We're on! Hello everyone, my name is Midnight, and I am here with Aqua.
Hi.
And Alia.
Hi.
And we three are going to be reading some narrations for the uNIGHTed charity. And the charity link will be located either in the comments or in the description.
One of the two.
Yeah. So the charity, for those who do not know, or for those who are not aware, is for the stabbing victim in Waukesha, Wisconsin. And the uNIGHTed organization is a group of narrators who have decided that we want to help the girl with her hospital bills, and also this will be going to the Safe Horizon Network, and Aqua can talk about that.
So what the Safe Horizon Network is, it is a organization that helps people who have been abused or just been treated very badly throughout in their lives to where they need help, whether it be medical or anything like that, really, just when they need help. So it's a very good charity because it helps people who need it after going through something traumatic.
All right. So, we are going to be reading some creepypastas and taking some questions. And let me just make sure that we're all up and ready and set, and that I'm not making a big fool of myself. And then we'll start. All right. So, first up is Aqua, and she is going to be explaining her story, the title, etc.
Okay, so hi, I'm Aqua. I am a new narrator. I only have one story up, which I will be doing later in this live stream. And I've only posted one because I've been really busy since summer started because a lot of graduations and things. And so the story I'm going to be doing first is called Why to Sleep. It's a really good story, and Midnight, whenever you're ready to start music, go ahead. I'm ready.
All right. Give me just one moment.
Okay.
All right. I think it was this one. All right.
Yep.
All right. Oh, good. Here we go.
Did you start the music? Because I can't hear it if you did.
Yes, I did.
I can't hear it.
It's fine.
Okay, I'll just... Oh, there we go. Now I hear it.
Yep.
Have you ever had a dream that feels so realistic you had to question if it was actually a dream or not? I get this a lot. I'm an 18-year-old female from England, and I have CIPA. This means I have a lack of sensitivity to pain, so I often injure myself without realizing. So my life in general doesn't always seem real. I mean, how do you even know I'm alive? Anyway, when I'm asleep, I seem to have a reoccurring dream. Well, I say that, but it seems to carry on every night, like I'm living another life while I'm asleep. Anyway, in my sleep, I always start in a white room, like in a psychiatric ward, and it always ends there also. What I do in the world changes, and I always have a calendar, and every dream is on the day after the previous dream. Last week, they made me take some tablets in my dream to cure my illness. It really affected me when I woke up. It's really strange. Everyone seems to be more faded, and I didn't even recognize my mom. It was like she was someone I'd never met before. She had to show me a picture of me and her before I could believe her. There was a guy in the picture also, and there was another child. How strange. Now that I think about it, I'm an only child. My father was never around. In fact, I don't even have photos in this house. I just live in a black hole. I found this computer today, and this website loaded up, like I was meant to tell my story, but I must sleep now. Someone from my dream is calling me.
All right.
And that was Why to Sleep. Hope you guys liked that one. It's one of my favorites.
All right. Hopefully this thing is all working. This is one of my first times doing one of these.
Thank you.
Alright, my story is a lovely little tale called La Muerta Blanca. Alright, here goes. Aqua, if you wouldn't mind muting yourself. And I'm currently sitting in front of my computer, scared, witless. Any moment now, I'm going to be killed. Today, a friend of mine told me a story. His aunt had taken care of him since he was a small boy, and she told him last night about how his parents died. He did a very fair imitation of her. I knew them both fairly well. They were doing mission work in some nasty little South American country when a man burst into the mission hospital one night, terrified out of his mind. He told them that his sister had been killed by a Muerta Blanca, and he was certain it was coming for him next. What is a Muerta Blanca? Apparently it was some sort of boogeyman, something like that dumb chupacabra or whatever. They call it the White Death, or the White Girl, because the soul of someone who had life so much that they came back in their shrouds to kill those who told of them. Man had been told about the vengeful spirit by his sister before her death. There was a girl with dead black eyes that went vile. The thing moved without ever actually moving its legs, and it stalked its victims back to their homes. And now, if you weren't already aware that this thing was following you, once you got back to your house, it would start knocking on your door. Once for your skin, which you'll use to patch your own decaying flesh. Twice for your muscle, which she'll gnash on her teeth between victims. Thrice for your bones, which will make her knives to pick her teeth and kill her victims. 4 times for your heart, which you'll wear around your neck. 5 times for your teeth, which you'll polish and keep in a box. 6 times for your eyes, which you'll see the faces of your loved ones through. 7 times for your soul, which she'll eat whole. You can never pass while you're in her stomach. She has to repeat this on any mirror or door between you and her. You can try to outrun her, but she's faster than the fastest man. If you leave your home while she's knocking on your door, she won't be so courteous when she catches up to you. Now, the man was certain that this thing had killed his sister. That he had tried to tell the police, but they wouldn't listen. That he had tried to tell his priest, but the priest turned him away when he saw that this thing was following him now. Oh, that's right, I forgot about that. It can only get you if you tell someone else about it. Or you saw it kill someone else. The man, after finishing his tale, stole a car from the mission and was never seen again. Apparently his mother and father had immediately called his aunt about this when it happened. They were found in the morning, skinned and dismembered. Their bodies were covered in tiny childlike handprints. Apparently, his aunt was really drunk the night before and had told him about it. He told me this story early in the morning today at school, before the cops arrived. His aunt had been murdered that night. I called him later that night, and he told me that he was being chased by someone, and now they were knocking on his door, and I told him to stop shitting me. He held the phone away from his face for a minute, and I could hear a slow, deliberate knocking. Moments later, I heard the door rip from its hinges, the dying screams of my friend. Then a little girl's voice spoke over the line. Witness. I hung up. 3 minutes ago, someone started knocking on my door. She asked to knock 28 times on my front door, 28 times on the mirror in the hall, and another 28 times on the door to my bedroom. She was doing it slowly, and I think she wants to scare me some more. Let me know that my death is just moments away. I will not run. I couldn't get to my car in time anyway. She started knocking on my bedroom door a minute ago. She should be done any moment. It's been nice knowing you guys. It's been 45. Witness. And that was La Muerte Blanca.
Awesome as always, Midnight.
Thank you. Alright.
And now we're going to hand the mic over to Alia, who's going to be reading a nice short little story. So, introduce your story.
Okay, this is called 3 a.m.?
Yes.
Yeah.
Alright, let me get the music all started. Okay?
Okay.
One moment. Ugh, Myuuji's music. Alright. Also, thanks again to Myuuji for providing this wonderful music that we're reading to. Alright. Alia, whenever you're ready.
Okay, go.
Okay.
Have you ever woken up only to find there was something staring at you? It happens to people all the time. On trains, buses, planes, and in public places. In fact, studies have shown that this instinctive response is a highly evolved defense mechanism of the subconscious mind, alerting your senses to the presence of a potential threat. Many other species in the animal kingdom possess similar traits, which prove beneficial to survival. Given this, you might want to consider quickly pulling your curtains closed and shutting your door the next time you instinctively wake up at 3 a.m. That is, of course, if it's not already inside your room.
Ooh, that was good.
Yes. And that was actually the first time Alia has read a creepypasta that wasn't while me and Midnight were listening only.
One of us. Alright, we have a quick question. Do you guys like cake?
Yes, we had cake last night, actually.
As a perspective, I'm in Germany, and they're in California, so I could not have cake.
What? You need to get cake.
Alright. So, Aqua, what is your second story?
Well,
Or do you want me to read another one of mine?
I can read mine real quick. I already have it up anyways. So, my next story is the story that I have actually done. I kind of have wanted to redo it after listening to myself the first time, and I thought I could do it better. So this one is called True Demon. For the people who haven't heard me read it yet or have not read it, it is an amazing story. Another one of my favorites. So, Midnight, whenever you're ready, just go right on ahead and play music.
Alright, awesome. You're gonna love this one. Alright.
Yes.
Here goes.
It was just kneeling there. It hadn't moved for minutes, hours. I wasn't even sure how long I'd been there watching this thing. Shivering mass of flesh and hair. Its head bowed into its knees. Slowly, so slowly, you hardly noticed anything at all. The head of the creature began to rise. I wanted to run. My entire being was drenched in sweat as the being looked straight at me. Its defiant, unblinking eyes staring into mine. Its mouth began to open. Slowly, slowly, like the creature was using every fiber of its being to say something. I didn't wait. This time, I turned, sprinting out the door I entered from. I ran down a mass of identical corridors, each wall the same. Single window letting seldom light through until I finally reached an open door. I collapsed into the corner, dropping to my knees and letting my head droop. I began to cry. I couldn't help myself. It was hopeless. I heard the lightning-fast sprinting coming down the same hallways I had traversed myself moments before. The demon was chasing after me, and soon enough it would be here. And soon enough the footsteps stopped. I opened my eyes wide, hands and body shivering, to see a shrouded figure standing in the doorway. I opened my mouth to scream, but my muscles were aching all over. This man could help me fight the creature. He might know what's going on. It took me forever to unhinge my jaw, and just as I was about to speak, the figure turned and left. I was alone to fight the demon, and it was then I understood. This was no creature. I was being traced down by the only true demon that plagued me. Myself.
Whew.
And that is true, demon. Hope you guys liked that one too.
Awesome. Let's see what Toucan New has in store for us. Also, oh, DRE me. It's that. Okay. Anyway. For those of you who have just joined, hello everyone. We are 20 minutes into the stream. My name is Midnight. I am here with Aqua.
Hello.
And Alia.
Hi.
And this is a charity live stream for the uNIGHTed thing. And I will put a link to the charity in the comments really quick.
You haven't already done that? Oh wait, the comments, not the description. My bad.
Yeah. So just posted it. You do not by any means have to donate, but this is completely something that is up to you, but we would love it if you did.
Yeah, because I really wanted to donate, but due to some family problems, I am not able to at the moment. So the way I supported was watching MCP's live stream and drawing one of the yellow roses.
And this.
Huh? And doing this, yes. So if you want, you can either just, if you watched MCP's live stream, you are supporting. If you do one of the yellow roses, you are supporting. And if you use their slogan, which is, it stands for creativity, not reality.
And
Yours is
creativity, not reality.
Yeah, stands for creativity, not reality. That's what I just said.
Yeah, sorry. Alright. So it's my turn, I guess, huh?
Yep. What are you going to be reading for us now?
I am going to be reading my favorite Edgar Allan Poe tale. And I need to find this in my book, hence,
Your giant book of Edgar Allan Poe?
Yeah, my Tales of Edgar Allan Poe. She's seen my copy of the book before. This tale is my favorite tale, and is also the favorite tale of my father. And Insanity's Asylum, I believe, has done a version of this with MCP, which is wonderful, and you guys should check it out. Or she has yet to upload it, and I'm spoiling things. Okay. This is Mask of the Red Death by Edgar Allan Poe. And let me just get some music set up, and yeah! Here we go. The Red Death had long devastated the country. No pestilence had ever been so fatal or so hideous. Blood was its avatar and its seal, the redness and the horror of blood. There were sharp pains and sudden dizziness, then profuse bleeding at the pores with disillusion. The scarlet stains upon the body, and especially upon the face of the victim, were the pest ban which shut him out from the aid and from the sympathy of his fellow men. And the whole seizure, progress, and termination of the disease were the incidents of half an hour. But the Prince Prospero was a happy and dauntless and sagacious. When his dominions were half depopulated, he summoned to his presence 1,000 hale and light-hearted friends from among the knights and the dames of his court, and with these retired to the deep seclusion of one of his castellated abbeys. This was an extensive yet magnificent structure, the creation of the prince's own eccentric yet august tastes. A strong and lofty wall girdled it in. This wall had gates of iron. The courtiers, having entered, brought furnaces and massy hammers and welded the bolts. They resolved to have the means neither of ingress nor egress to the sudden impulses of the despair or frenzy from within. The abbey was amply provisioned. With such precautions, the courtiers might bid defiance to contagion. The external world could take care of itself. In the meantime, it was folly to grieve, or to think. The prince had provided all of the appliances of pleasure. There were buffoons, there was improvisatory, there were ballet dancers, there was musicians, there was beauty, there was wine. All these and the security were within. Without was the Red Death. It was towards the close of the 5th or the 6th month of his seclusion, and wild pestilence raged most furiously abroad, that the Prince Prospero entertained his 1,000 friends at a masked ball of the most unusual magnificence. It was a voluptuous scene, that masquerade. But first let me tell of the rooms in which it was held. There were 7, an imperial suite. In many palaces, however, such suites form a long and straight vista, while holding the folding doors slide back to nearly the walls on either hand, so that the view on the whole extent is scarcely impeded. Here the case was very different, as might have been expected from the Duke's love of the bizarre. These apartments were so irregularly disposed that the vision embraced but little more than one at a time. There was a sharp turn at every 20 or 30 yards, and at each turn a novel effect. To the right and the left, in the middle of each wall, a tall and narrow Gothic window looked out upon a closed corridor which pursued the windings of the suite. These windows were of stained glass, whose color varied in accordance with the prevailing hue of the decorations into the chamber in which it opened. That at the eastern extremity was hung, for example, in blue, and vividly blue were its windows. And here the panes were purple. Third was green throughout, and so were its casements. Fourth was furnished and lighted with orange, the fifth with white, the sixth with violet. The seventh apartment was closely shrouded in black velvet tapestries that hung all over like a ceiling and down the walls, falling in heavy folds upon a carpet of the same material and hue. But in this chamber only, the color of the windows failed to correspond with the decorations. The panes here were scarlet, a deep blood color. Now in no one of the 7 apartments was there any lamp or candelabrum amid the profusion of golden ornaments that lay scattered to and fro or depended from the roof. There was no light of any kind emanating from the lamp or candle within the suite or the chambers. But in the corridors that followed the suite, there stood, opposite to each window, a heavy tripod, bearing a brazier of fire that projected its rays through the tinted glass and so glaringly illuminated the room. And thus were produced a multitude of gaudy and fantastic appearances. But in the western black chamber, the effect of the firelight that streamed upon the dark hangings throughout the blood-tinted panes was ghastly and the extreme, and produced so wild a look upon the countenance of those who entered that there were few of the company bold enough to set foot within the precincts at all. It was in this apartment also that there stood against the western wall a giant clock of ebony. Its pendulums swing to and fro with a dull, heavy, monotonous clang. And when the minute hand made the circuit of the face, and the hour was to be stricken, there came from the brazen lungs of the clock a sound which was clear and loud and deep and exceedingly musical, but of so peculiar note and emphasis that at each lapse of an hour the musicians of the orchestra were constrained to pause momentarily in their performances to hearken to the sound. And thus the waltzers preferous ceased their evolutions, and there was a brief disconcert of the whole gay company. And while the chimes of the clock yet rang, it was observed that their giddiest grew pale, and the more aged and sedate passed their hands over their brows as if in confused reverie or meditation. But when the echoes fully ceased, a light laughter had once pervaded the assembly, and the musicians looked at each other and made whispering vows, each to the other, that the next chiming of the clock could produce in them no similar emotion. And then, after the lapse of 60 minutes, which embraced 3,600 seconds of the time that flies, there came another chiming of the clock, and then were in the same disconcert, in tremulous meditation as before. But despite these things, it was a gay and magnificent revel. The tastes of the Duke were peculiar. He had a fine eye for colors and effects. He disregarded the decora of mere fashion. His plans were bold and fiery. His conceptions glowed with barbaric luster. There are some who have thought him mad. His followers felt that he was not. It was necessary to hear and see and touch him to be sure he was not. He had directed, in great part, the movable embellishments of his 7 chambers. Upon occasion of this great fete, and it was his own guiding taste which had given character to these masqueraders, Be sure they were grotesque. They were much in glare and glitter and piquancy and phantasm, much of what had been seen since Harani. They were arabesque figures with unsuited limbs and pointsments. They were delirious fantasies as the madman fashions. There was much of the beautiful, much of the wanton, and much of the bizarre, something of the terrible, and not a little of that which might have excited disgust. To and fro in the 7 chambers there stalked, in fact, a multitude of dreams. And these, the dreams, writhed in and about, taking hue of the rooms, and causing wild music of the orchestra to seem to echo of their stages and steps. And anon there strikes an ebony clock which stands in the hall of the velvet, and then for a moment all is still, and all is silent, save the voice of the clock. The dreams are stiff frozen as they stand, but the echoes of the chime die away. They have endured but an instant, and a light, half-subdued laughter floats after them as they depart. And now, again, the music swells, and the dreams live, and writhe to and fro more merrily than ever, taking hue from the many-tinted windows through the stream and the rays from the tripods. But to the chamber which lies the most westwardly on the 7, there are now none of the makers who venture, for the night is waning away, and there grows a ruddier light through the blood-colored panes. And the blackness of the sable drapery appalls. To him whose foot falls upon the sable carpet, there comes from the near clock of ebony a muffled peal more solemn and emphatic than any which reaches their ears, who indulge in more remote gaieties of the other apartments. But these other apartments were densely crowded, and in them beat feverishly the heart of life. And the revel went whirling on, until at length there commenced the sounding of midnight on the clock. And then the music ceased, as I have told, and the evolutions of the waltzers were quieted, and there was an unnecessary and uneasy cessation of all things as before. But now there were 12 strokes to be sounded by the bell of the clock, and thus it happened, perhaps, that more thought crept, with more of time, into the meditations of the thoughtful among those who rebelled. And thus, too, it happened, perhaps, that before the last echoes of the last chime had utterly sunk into silence, there were many individuals in the crowd who had found leisure to become aware of the presence of a masked figure, which had arrested the attention of no single individual before. And the rumor of this new presence having spread itself whispering around, there arose at length from the whole company a buzz or murmur, expressive of disapprobation and surprise, and then finally of terror, of horror, and of disgust. In an assembly of phantasms such as I have painted, it may well be supposed that no ordinary appearance could have excited such sensation. In truth, the masquerade license of the night was nearly unlimited, but the figure in question had out-Heroded Herod, and gone beyond the bounds of even the prince's indefinite decorum. There are chords in the hearts of even the most reckless, which cannot be touched without emotion. Even with the utterly lost, to whom life and death are equally jests, there are matters of which no jest can be made. The holy company, indeed, seemed now deeply to feel that in the costume and the bearing of the stranger neither wit nor propriety existed. The figure was tall and gaunt, enshrouded from head to foot in the habiliments of a grave. The mask which concealed the visage that made so nearly the resemble of the countenance of a stiffened corpse that the closest scrutiny must have been difficulty detecting the cheat. And yet all this must have been endured, if not approved, by the mad revelers around. But the murmur had gone so far as to assume the type of the Red Death. His vesture was dabbled in blood, his head and his broad brow, with all features on the face, was besprinkled with that scarlet horror. Would the eyes of Prince Prospero fall upon this spectral image, with a slow and solemn movement, as if more fully sustained a roulette, and stalked to and fro amongst the waltzers, he was seen to be convulsed, in the first moment, with a strong shudder of either terror or distaste, but then, in the next, his brow reddened with rage. "Who dares?" he demanded hoarsely among the courtiers that stood amongst him. "Who dares insult us with this blasphemous mockery? Seize him and unmask him, that we may know whom we have to hang at sunrise from the battlements." It was in the eastern, or blue chamber, in which stood the Prince Prospero as he uttered these words, and they rang throughout the 7 rooms loudly and clearly. For the prince was a bold and robust man, and the music had become hushed at the waving of his hand. It was the blue room where he stood, the prince, with a group of pale courtiers by his side. At first, as he spoke, there was a slight rushing movement of the group in the direction of the intruder, who at the movement was so near at hand, and now whose deliberate and stately step made closer to approach the speaker. But from a certain nameless awe, with which the mad assumptions from the mummer had inspired the whole party, there were found none who put forth a hand to seize him. So that, unimpeded, he passed within a yard of the prince's person, and while the vast assembly, as if with one impulse, shrank from the centers of the rooms to the walls, and made his way uninterruptedly, but with the same solemn and measured step which had distinguished him from the first, through the blue chamber, and on through the purple to the green to the orange, then this again to the white, and even thence to the violet, ere a decided movement had been made to arrest him. It was then, however, that the Prince Prospero, maddening with rage and the shame of his own momentary cowardice, rushed hurriedly through the 6 chambers. And while none followed him on account of the deadly terror which seized upon all, he bore aloft a drawn dagger, and had approached in rapid impetuosity to within 3 or 4 feet of the retreating figure, when the latter suddenly confronted his pursuer. It was a sharp cry, and the dagger dropped, gleaming on the sable carpet, upon which, instantly afterwards, fell prostrate in death the Prince Prospero. Then, summoning wild courage of despair, the throng of the revelers all at once threw themselves into the black apartment, and seizing the mummer, whose tall figure stood erect and motionless within the shadow of the ebony clock, gasped in unutterable horror at finding the grave cerements and the corpse-like mask which they had handled with so violent a rudeness undetained by any intangible form. And now was acknowledgment of the presence of the Red Death. He had come like a thief in the night, and one by one dropped the revelers in their blood-bedewed halls of their revel, and died each in the despairing posture of his fall. And the life of the ebony clock went out with that the last of the gay, and the flames of the tripod expired, and darkness and decay and death the Red Death, held illimitable dominion over all. And that was Mask of the Red Death.
That was really good, and I think I have a new favorite Edgar Allan Poe tale.
You know what I think is one of the creepiest tales?
What?
Okay, so we've got a little bit of commentary from the Peanut Gallery. Murphy, you know who Murphy is, Aqua.
Yes, I know who he is. I've never met him though.
He's wondering if we think that we can get the donation poll to over 8,000. You think so?
I can. I'm not sure, but
Right.
I definitely hope we can.
All right. I hope. All right, and thank you, SC Bonus Room. I will do just that. I'll put the donation link in the description, which would most likely be very, very wise.
I thought you already did that. Oh, no, you put it in the comments.
I did it on the announcement thing. The donation link is in the comments, and that'll work. All right. And Toucan New, if you can find it, sure. All right. Aqua, this is your turn because I've taken up a little bit of time.
Oh, no, you're fine. Okay, so the story I am doing now is Mind of a Sociopath. Another good one. This one is probably the longest I will do tonight. Or today.
Mm-hmm.
That's today, because for me, it's still morning. For you, it's night.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So,
When you're ready, kid, I am all good.
I am ready, so.
All right. Let me just... Here we go. Go ahead.
Okay. Will this be my great demise? I don't specifically want it to be. I mean, I'm not exactly done with everything I wanted to do. Even as I write this, I can feel it ascending through my body. Its slimy hands full of greed and eating away at the outer layer of my skin. You think that it might burn, but all I feel is an odd pleasure. It's a pleasure so unmistakable, the pleasure of pain. I feel it course through my body like venom being injected into my blood through a needle. Oh, how wonderful it feels to just forget everything that's happened, forget about the future, forget about my petty daily problems. Oh, how awful it is to think of what'll become, to think of what'll come next. How awful it'll feel to know somewhere deep inside myself that I am missing a piece. The person I am now is going to hate it. But then again, I'll be rid of all those nasty problems that plague my thoughts. Either way, after tonight, this wretched soul of mine will be no more. I will have broken through the line between light and dark. Which side I will have entered is still unknown to me, but perhaps that's okay. Maybe I don't really want to know. Maybe this nonsense is just that, nonsense. Maybe there's no light and dark. Maybe this thing is just my true nature. A nature that chooses to sleep for years on end at times, but never dies. Its crooked smile is starting to find a place among my lips now. Its arms and legs are beginning to take control. It keeps whispering into my ear, even as I continue my little story, that none of this is real. Since I don't know whether to do what it says or not, I have to oblige. For if my will is not strong enough, then it'll take over. It's better I finish this before I lose it. For whoever is reading this, remember this. I am no longer who I was. I will not be abiding by any kind of rule or law, but instead only by my true impulse. My first victim will be whoever bumps whoever bumps me along my path. It'll most likely be it most likely won't be anything personal. I just can't stop myself anymore. It has such an undeniable urge to kill. And that was Mind of a Sociopath.
Whew. Let me do a little bit of advertising real quick.
Okay. Go ahead.
Tumblr is a wonderful resource.
Yes, it is.
Care to explain for all people who are just joining us real quick, and I'll go on mute and you can explain what's going on.
Okay, so Midnight and I, for those of you who have just joined, Midnight and I are doing this for the uNIGHTed charity, which is collecting money for the girl who was in Wisconsin who was stabbed, and any proceeds that we make will be going to that. And there's a link somewhere in the comments that Midnight posted. And, well, we have Myuuji, to thank for all the wonderful music that we are reading to. And I need Midnight for a second, if she can come back.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm so bad with names. Who helped us find some stories that were appropriate for this?
Myuuji has provided us with wonderful music, and Barnabas Deimos has helped us choose some appropriate stories for the topic.
Thank you.
Thanks to the both of you.
And that's pretty much all the announcements that I have to make. And now I'm just waiting for Midnight to come back because it is her turn to read, unless we have questions.
All right. No more questions this far?
No questions? Okay.
All right. Okay, so my next story is a lovely little tale called it's called The Cough, and this is My Little Pony creepypasta because someone had to do it. Alright. I'll pull up some music and let's go. Also, by the way, for everyone who's donated thus far, thank you so much.
We really appreciate it. And even if you are just watching, we really appreciate you just being here and watching. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we really appreciate all one of you watching.
One person watching?
I'm kidding. Alright. Let's go. This is The Cough. In the darkness, some pony coughed. Who was it? Silence reigned. Who? A dim violet light sprang into being. Twilight Sparkle's horn barely illuminated the cramped, windowless room and the 6 ponies within. A world of dark purples and inky blacks sprung into being, colors distorted by the monochrome aura of the magical implement. Shadows pooled in the corners, lurking just beyond the reach of the unicorn spell. Rainbow Dash watched as Twilight had glared at each of her friends in turn. None spoke. Silhouettes danced along the walls as the unicorn moved her head, causing the light to jerk and shift. Pinkie Pie huddled near the barred door, eyes wide and uncomprehending as she stared off into an uncertain distance. The baker twitched slightly, squeezing the bag of flour that she had clutched so tightly to her chest. On the room's only bed, Rarity lay next to Applejack, her head buried in the farmer's shoulder. The dressmaker shook as she sobbed quietly. Dash didn't know whether the unicorn's distress was because of their situation or because of their hygiene. The room reeked reeked of unwashed bodies. And Rarity's mane, like every pony else's, was tangled and knotted and hung heavy with filth. Applejack, for her part, merely stared stoically back at Twilight Sparkle when the librarian's gaze turned to her. And then those eyes were on Dash and on Fluttershy. The two were locked in an embrace. It was the only comfort that they had in the room. The weather pony found her voice when the other Pegasus began to shudder. What does it matter? Twilight Sparkle's brow furrowed. Get serious, Dash. It's better for 5 of us to get through this than none of us. Coughing is the only warning we get. Fluttershy's whisper carried well enough in the enclosed space.
Couldn't we, wait and see? It could be just dust or a cold. Please?
I really wish that we could risk it, Fluttershy, Twilight said with the sharp edge of her voice softening slightly. But there's no going back once it reaches the final stage. You saw what happened out there. Do you really want that in here? Applejack sighed, then spoke up. She's right, Sugarcube. It's not contagious until the end. We've got a choice to make, 1 death or 6. Rainbow Dash gritted her teeth. Isn't there anything that could be done? Can't your magic cure it? Stop it? Slow it down? She paused, then added in a hoarse whisper. Anything? The unicorn shook her head. Even the princess can't cure it. She can only contain outbreaks that do happen. Every carrier has to die. That's the only way the rest of us can be safe. That's the only way the rest of Equestria can be safe. You know that, Dash. Time matters here. Why are you stalling? The weather pony's mouth worked, but no words came forth. Fluttershy's voice, suddenly confident, filled the gap.
I coughed. It was me.
Rainbow Dash gasped as the other Pegasus, eyes wide with shock and horror. The pink-maned mare turned to look at her and spoke, once again hesitant.
It'll be okay. It'll be okay. I couldn't live with myself if any of you died. And if I could have prevented it, it's better this way.
Dash shook her head slowly and whispered a single, "No." Applejack's voice was grim. Her mind's made up. It's a tough choice, but Fluttershy's got the strength of an ox on the inside. How can we... How is she going to... The Pegasus trailed off. Twilight Sparkle sighed and slumped on the floor. We don't have any weapons, and I'm not trained in combat magic. Even if I were, it can't be me. It has to be you, Dash. What? Why me? The unicorn looked away.
I know you well enough to realize that you'd never stand just aside and let one of us lay a hoof on your filly friend.
Maybe intellectually you know it's necessary, but your emotions get the better of you. Ask yourself, if it has to be any of us, would you really want any pony but yourself to... You're right. Rainbow Dash rose to her hooves. The mare's voice was hollow. She took a step away from the other Pegasus. Applejack spoke. Fluttershy, sit up and put your head against the wall. It'll be a might quicker. The mare choked back at tears.
I'm so sorry, Rainbow Dash. I wish it could be any other way.
The rainbow-maned Pegasus looked over to her shoulder and met the eyes of the mare she loved. Fluttershy had taken the Earth Pony's advice. They stared at each other silently for a moment. Eventually, Dash found words, as insufficient as they were.
I love you. I'm sorry. I love you. I'm so sorry.
The other Pegasus replied, voice shaking.
I love you too. And I forgive you. It's better this way. Just make sure some pony takes care of all the animals when this is over. Whenever everything is back to normal.
Rainbow Dash whispered,
I promise.
And then she took careful aim. It would be quick. Fluttershy deserved that much, at least. When she was sure she'd connect, vision or not, she spoke. Cut the light, Twilight. No pony should have to see this. The horn's glow disappeared. Years of running and kicking clouds had honed Dash's muscles. She reared up on her front legs, gathered all her strength, and kicked out. She connected, and a dull thud was accompanied by the sensation of warm droplets splattering across her flank. It was followed by a high-pitched moan from the agonized pony behind her. Rainbow Dash reacted to Fluttershy's continued suffering without thought. She reared again and bucked repeatedly, steadying herself and adding the force with the swift flaps of her wings. On the fourth kick, the other mare's keening stopped with a sickening crunch. The weather mare's hooves dropped back on the floor. She stood shaking, her eyes wide and her heart beating nearly out of her chest. Her fetlocks were drenched with sticky blood, and she could feel it beginning to clot. She wondered, despite herself, whether the mess would stain, whether her coat would always bear the red residue of her deed. She wept quietly to herself. Silence reigned. And in the darkness, some pony coughed. And that was the cough.
Hey, that was good.
This is weird.
Yeah, if you don't watch the show, it's definitely weird.
I watched the show.
I don't.
I watched the show, and that's why it's weird.
I watched the show. And that was good, though.
Alright, we have a lovely little question. Are one of you using webcam mic? I'm not, technically, and she's using her phone mic. Well,
actually, I'm using a mic that's for Skype that I got on Amazon for like $1.99.
And Alia is also using that. So,
yeah, because Ollie's right next to me.
And what is your favorite pasta, each of you?
Oh god, that's hard. That's a hard question.
I personally have a great love of Fenter Woods, and I did this special effects makeup based off of it, and I really love it. And the other one that I really, really like is Autopilot, which is amazing. And I'm not so much one for character pastas, which are like Jeff the Killer or Clockwork or whatever. Alright, Aqua, what about you?
I gotta admit, for a time I really did like Jeff the Killer, and then I got really into Eyeless Jack, but right now I'm going to have to say my favorite creepypasta. This is so hard, I can't choose. There are so many really good ones. My favorite, I'm just going to say The Survival Guide because it's just, I've always had a like for that one. That one is definitely one of my top 10. So I'm just going to say,
Survival Guide?
Yeah, I love that one.
The one that we're going to be reading later?
Yes, and we're going to be reading that one together.
To finish off the stream.
And that's going to be fun. So stick around for that if you want to hear us read The Survival Guide.
Yeah, Oh, okay, this is Dark Unicorn. Who all is in the stream? It is myself, which you know. My friend Aqua.
I'm a new narrator. I've only done one narration.
We all know each other from school.
Yeah, and then our friend Ollie is also here. She's read one story.
What? No, what?
You read one story.
Oh, narrated one story.
You read one story on the live stream.
I thought you were talking about the creepypastas. I'm like,
yes,
we're a lot.
Who's your favorite narrator then?
Narrator? I don't know the narrator's name.
Okay, Mr. Creepypasta, Creeps McPlastic, Nick Shadow Lovely.
Jack Josie.
I think Mr.
Well, hey, that's
Creepypasta.
MCP? Yeah.
That would be like his.
Didn't I introduced you to MCP?
Mm-hmm.
I introduced you to his channel, not him. I've never met him.
That's my job. Alright. So, Aqua, what do we have in store, my dear?
Well, Ollie read 3 a.m. earlier, so now I'm going to read the 3 a.m. myth, which is longer and 10 times creepier.
Dun dun dun.
Is this like in continuation to the previous, or what?
No, it's kind of a different myth having to do with 3 a.m.
Alright, by all means.
And it's really good. So whenever you're ready with music, I am ready to read.
Yeah, that's the thing. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
I think that this will be good. Let me check.
Yeah, that's for music, so.
Yep. Give me just 1 moment, and go ahead.
It's actually really good for this one. Okay. Some people consider 3 a.m. to be the time spirits communicate with us. Others think it's the devil's mark. Some even think that when you wake up at this time, someone is watching you. But if someone were to be watching you, how would they watch you if there were no windows or doors in the room that you were in? There are many superstitions of what 3 a.m. could be. I'm going to tell you the real meaning of this worldwide time myth. While you sleep soundly, you dream. While you dream, you are unaware of your surroundings, unaware of what could be beside you in your covers. Your eyes flutter open and you check the time on either your watch, cell phone, alarm clock, or simply whatever you have lying around that has the time displayed on it. But knowing the time doesn't really matter, right? You rub your eyes and blink a few times, adjusting to the darkness of your room. You hear the sounds of the floorboards creaking, the sound of pitter-patter along the ground. I'm sure it's just a mouse, you think to yourself. Maybe it is just a mouse, or a large rat. A very large rat indeed to be making such loud footsteps. You dare not look over the edge of your bed, for you are paralyzed in your fear. You're just scaring yourself, even enough already with this foolishness you tell yourself. But is it foolishness? Or is there a reason to be scared? Are there monsters under the bed waiting to snatch your feet and pull you under the bed when you get up in the middle of the night to use your restroom or get a drink of water? You don't believe in monsters. Those were stories your mother or father told you as a child long ago. The Boogeyman, Sandman, and other monster stories were just stories to give you a spook, right? Yeah, right. Monsters aren't real, you think, and chuckle at your childish fears. But wait, what's that? The pitter-patter of feet seem to be getting closer. You squeezed your eyes tightly shut as you hear the long, loud screeching of your door creaking open ever so slowly. Was that a giggle you just heard? No, of course not. Mice don't giggle. Neither do rats. You're being delusional. You open your eyes slowly and stare at your ceiling. There's movement under your covers. The covers that you stay under to provide you warmth and comfort. It's moving towards you slowly. In a crooked fashion, it looks as if it's limping beneath the blankets. You are frozen in terror, afraid to move, or else you might give away your location. You feel something tugging on the loose clothes you wear. Oh, Jesus, what is that? You yank away the covers and throw them to the ground and gasp at what you say. See, the creature is lopsided, grotesque, in a way that makes your stomach turn in knots. It wears torn fabric and looks like hundreds of years old. It tilts its head to the right and gives you a crooked smile. Its dark eyes without pupils stare at you unblinking. You slowly begin to push yourself up into a sitting position, backing away from the creature. This does not seem to bother it, though. It simply limps closer and closer to you until it has reached your leg. It pulls itself onto you and begins to crawl slowly. Oh, so slowly. It bears that crooked, toothy grin. Its gray skin hangs from its bony body. It smells horrid. A smell you've not come to face before, but you know the smell even without having smelt it before. It's the smell of rot, but not like any rot. Stinking scent of rot, flesh and blood. What are you going to do? You think and lift your lips, eyes wide, not removing them from the creature. It's still inching its way up your body, coming closer and closer to your face with each limping step. You take in a deep breath through your nose, and then release a scream so loud you'll think you have popped your own eardrums. The creature suddenly jerks its head towards the door and lets out a murderous cry. It quickly limps to the edge of the bed and jumps, landing on the floor with a thump. It rushes out the door and disappears into the dark hallway. You see, 3 in the morning is when this little thing comes out to play. When the little things decide it's your lucky day. When the little things show themselves, but don't let this deceive you. The first time you see them, it's almost certainly the last. You're lucky if you can get away safely. I cannot tell you how to deal with the little things, for they are everywhere. In every home, in every hole, every nook and cranny your house has. How many have you in your home is not a question answered easily. All I can tell you is that there are many. They study you, and they plan your demise. No wonder they reek of death. And that is the 3 a.m. myth. I hope you all liked that.
I haven't heard that one before. That's nice.
Thank you.
Alright. And this, just as another reminder, this is a charity live stream for the Waukesha, Wisconsin stabbing victim and the Safe Horizon organization, and there is a donate link in the comments. Please, please, please donate. I don't care if you don't like the sound of our voices. I would really love it. We both would really love it if you please donated for the little girl and for the charity.
All 3 of us really would. Right, Ollie?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Really forgot Ollie was there.
Is that because she hasn't read anything?
I read one thing.
Well, one thing. Well, you haven't read anything.
Do you want to read something else?
That's what I'm actually doing. I'm looking for a short story for her to read.
Want me to just read and while you're looking?
Yes, please.
Alright, this next tale is another favorite of mine. And it's called The Crawl Space. And I hope you enjoy, because it is really, really good. Alright. Here we go. Hi there. I guess you could say I'm writing this as a cautionary tale to those who plan on studying abroad in the future. don't mean to discourage you from going in the first place. It's more like I just want you to be aware of this so that something like this doesn't happen to you too. I guess I should explain it a little bit. Last summer, I was selected to participate in the study abroad program that would be centered in Rome for several months. Like anyone would be, I was elated. I had never been out of the States before, so this was going to be a real adventure for me. In the weeks that followed, I happily packed anything and everything I could fit into my suitcase. I will be the first to admit that I had way overpacked for this trip. I was nervous about leaving my parents for the first time, but I was also excited for this newfound freedom I would have while in Europe. Before I knew it, my parents were dropping me off at the airport, and I was boarding a 19-hour flight to Rome. Despite being long and tedious, the flight wasn't all that bad. When I exited the airport, I was greeted by a program supervisor, and several other students who would be studying with me. They were about the same age and all looked just as excited as me. From there, we went to our mandatory orientation meeting, and afterwards, we went to pick up our apartment keys. In the months preceding that trip, we were responsible for getting to know our would-be roommates, as well as finding a place to stay that we all could afford. There were 3 girls I would be staying with. They were all nice enough and made an effort to make me feel welcome, though I will admit it's a bit hard to get close to a group of performed friends. But despite my slight alienation, it seemed that things were going to work out all so well. All of us were on a similar budget plan, and by that I mean most of us really had much money to spend. None of us, really. Because of this, we were all on the same page while searching for the cheapest apartment we could find. After several days searching, we stumbled across an ad for an ancient apartment located above the Campo di Fiori. That was prime location, and we couldn't believe it was still available, no less for an unbelievably low price. Oh, this set off alarm bells immediately in our heads. The place was enormous, yet the rent was cheaper than much smaller apartments in a far less desirable part of town. However, reason never really wins out in a group of excited young women. They had already made up their minds, and if I would be staying with them, this was my only option. We each received our own set of keys, as well as a map with walking directions. Because of its prime location, it didn't really take us long to get there. The Campo was amazing. During the daytime, it was filled with a vibrant market, while during the evening, it was lined with lively street performers. All of the apartments surrounding it looked to be ancient, so ours didn't really stand out all that much. After circling the square 3 or 4 times, we finally noticed the number nailed to the front of a massive old wooden door. This would be our home for the next 3 months. I fought with my keys for a moment until there was an audible click of the heavy old lock. The thick old door swung forward with a screech. We were then met with a long winding staircase. We all looked at one another and groaned. None of us had accounted for the fact that the building had been constructed before elevators were in common. So, 3 sets of stairs and countless complaints later, all 4 of us with luggage in hand stood outside our new front door. Once again, I reached for my set of keys and fought with the stubborn lock. As soon as the front door was opened, there was a stampede of young women trying to claim the best rooms. Being a 3-bedroom apartment, that meant 2 of us would have to share. I personally didn't really care, so I let the others battle it out. When dust settled, I found that I would be sharing a room with a girl called Stephanie. It would be fine with me. Stephanie was nice enough, and she was also very quiet, my ideal feature in a roommate. Over the course of the next day, we ran about exploring our new home. There were 2 bathrooms, a full kitchen, and a living room with an ancient TV. Once again, I began to feel uneasy. Just how was it that we were able to get all of this for such a low price? But before I could finish the thought, I was interrupted by a fit of loud squealing. My initial reaction was to panic, however I soon learned that the noise was from excitement. Down the other end of the apartment, near the front door, apparently there was another part of the flat that we had missed. I followed the noise until it led me to a long, dark hallway. There at the end, behind the group of squealing women, was a washing and drying machine. And for those of you thinking, what's the big deal? I should explain that these things are incredibly rare in Rome. Generally, exchange students have to wash their clothes by hand in the sink before hanging them up to dry. What was a luxury item like this doing in such a cheap apartment? Just as the screaming quelled, it picked right back up as the girls noticed a door adjacent to the washing machine. Beyond the door was a master bathroom. It had a balcony, closet, tub, even a bidet. The girls immediately started fighting over whose bathroom this was going to be. I didn't really see why we couldn't share, but apparently the others were dead set on having ownership. As it turned out, it ended up being my bathroom. Stephanie had made a logical argument that because she and I had to share a room, while the others two got their own, it was only fair that she and I got the master bath. And I'll admit, at first, I was actually kind of excited. After all, a really nice room. However, over the course of the next several weeks, I began to grow more and more wary of the room. I don't know how to put it into words, but it's like every time I went into that room, I could feel something's eyes on me. And the voyeuristic element wasn't really what had me so unnerved. I felt like whatever was watching me was angry. That it didn't want me there, and that it wanted to hurt me. I began doing everything in my power to avoid the room. I asked Alicia if she wouldn't mind if I were to use her restroom occasionally. I made up a lame excuse about how it was far more convenient since her room was close while my bathroom was at the other end of the flat, at the end of a very long hallway. She happily agreed, though, when I told her she could use my bathroom anytime she liked. This worked well. For about the first 2 months of my trip, I was able to completely avoid the airy room. It wasn't until that final month that everything began to unravel. One night, as I prepared to brush my teeth, I found that Alicia was already occupying her bathroom. I could hear giggles coming from down the hallway. And it was clear both Stephanie and our other roommates were both getting ready for bed in the master bath. I decided, since there were strength in numbers, it would be alright just for tonight. So I made my way down the large bathroom, where I joined the boisterous girls in brushing my teeth. They were in the midst of some conversation with Lindsay, our other roommate. Her had broken into such a furious fit of laughter that she had to lean on the wall for support. But suddenly she jolted upright as if she had been shocked. We all looked at what had been the cause of her reaction. There on the wall, about the same level as the bathtub, was a tiny door. None of us had ever noticed it because it was the same color as the walls. The landlord had even painted over it. Naturally, this made me a bit nervous. Whatever it was, the landlord clearly didn't want anyone opening it. But as usual, throwing all caution to the wind, Lindsay reached for the handle and began tugging with all her might. Stephanie clucked her tongue in disapproval before pulling out a small pocket knife. She began delicately carving along the seam of the door. I wanted to beg her to stop, but really didn't have the energy to argue that night. Within a few minutes, Lindsay had yanked the little door open with a loud crack. It was a crawl space. It was fairly large. My guess would have been that you could have fit at least 3 or 4 people. I was rather curious as to why the landlord would have sealed up an empty little room. While I thought about this, Stephanie and Lindsay were calling for Alicia to come see their new discovery. Just as excited as she was just as excited as they, and when they first discovered it. However, as could be expected, this excitement waned over time, and eventually the crawl space was just turned into storage for a few towels and laundry baskets. In the following days, after the unsealing the crawl space, things started to go from eerie to downright terrifying. Annoyingly, Alicia had changed her nightly routine so that I could no longer use her bathroom in the evenings. Once again, I was back in the large bathroom, all the while the feeling of being watched was growing worse and worse. I began to get so paranoid each time that I went into that bathroom, I would literally jump at the slightest noise of the pipe settling. And as soon as I was finished, I would run at full speed down the hallway and close the door behind me. For some reason, I seemed to be the only one feeling this way. It's not like I could have told the other girls either. I was already enough of an outcast as it was, so I just kept to myself and hoped that it would eventually go away. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. One night, as I was getting ready for bed, I found myself alone in the bathroom. As I stood up in front of the mirror brushing my teeth, something set the hairs on the back of my neck straight up. There was a faint rustling noise. Not the kind that could have been caused by my roommates at the other end of the hall. Any noises caused by them would have to have been quite loud to reach me all the way at the end of the long hallway. No, this noise was very faint, like the sound of someone gingerly shuffling things around. I stood completely still, terror filling me. The soft rustling noise was coming from inside the crawl space. I turned on my heels and ran down the hallway to grab the attention of my roommates. I tried to explain to them what happened, but all that came out were incoherent murmurs. Eventually, I managed to stutter. Something's inside the crawl space. They looked at me with fear and confusion in their eyes. As a pack, we moved together down the hallway into the bathroom. I nearly fainted when I saw the tiny door hanging fully ajar. Though this discovery filled me with horror, Alicia immediately pointed to the balcony's sliding door. Stephanie had left it to open the air out of the bathroom after taking a shower several hours ago. She peeked her head out the door to point to the slanted rooftop adjacent to ours. There were pigeons' nests occupied by a few birds. The girls surmised that a pigeon must have found its way and was the cause of the disturbance. They all had a good laugh as we made our way back to the living room. I pretended to shake it off, but I knew it wasn't a pigeon that caused that rustling noise. First off, that tiny door had been shut all day, and none of us really cared to leave it open because it smelled quite musty inside. And secondly, the door had been shut when I left the bathroom. I'm certain of this, and yet there it was, wide open when I returned. You're not going to tell me that a pigeon knows how to and is capable of opening and closing a door by itself, are you? It was at this point I began to suspect that something was terribly wrong with this apartment. When I got back to my room, I pulled out my laptop and called my best friend via Skype. She had always been the skeptical and methodical type. However, she kept an open mind towards things that were hard to explain. I decided of anyone, she was probably best to talk to about my situation. As I expected, she was initially quite doubtful, though she also agreed with me that a pigeon was quite likely not the source. She asked me if I had any photos of the crawl space. She said that if she could see it, that would help her understand a little more clearly, and possibly help her to come up with a more logical explanation. Relieved at her willingness to help me and hear me out, I reached for my camera and made my way down the eerie hallway. When I arrived, I found to my relief that the door was still closed. I stood in front of it for a moment, gathering my nerve before finally pulling the little door open. Despite the clutter left inside by my roommates, it was empty. I snapped a quick photo before closing the door once more, running back to my room. I immediately plugged in my camera into my computer and uploaded the photo. When I saw the image, I was petrified by what I saw. There, in the right-hand corner, was a face baring its teeth at me. My whole body began violently shaking. Dear God, that thing is in our home, I muttered to myself. Fear began to overtake me. Someone had sealed whatever it was inside of that crawl space, and we had let it out. I was so absorbed in my panic I didn't even notice when my roommate returned. She was so blissfully unaware of the imminent danger we were in. Yet, even if I tried to warn her, she wouldn't believe me. I was at a loss of what to do, so I finally decided that I would deal with it in the morning. Though not by a large amount, I did feel braver in the sunlight. From there, I attempted to get some sleep, though for the first time ever since being there, I closed and bolted my door before getting into bed. Stephanie eyed me suspiciously while I did so, but I jokingly told her that Lindsay had been sneaking into our room the previous nights and had been stealing my Nutella, whatever. She laughed heartily and shook her head before settling down for the night. I will admit that the only reason I was able to find any sleep that night was because of her presence. You know, something about not being alone can give one a sense of false security. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning when the sound woke me. I had always been a light sleeper, so the faint noise was enough to stir me. It sounded like a door being pushed open at the other end, flat, followed by footsteps. Oh, but these weren't just normal footsteps. These were way too fast. It sounded like someone was running at full speed from the foyer to the living room and all about the apartment. These weren't heavy footfalls, but the kind that you would expect from a running person. Oh, these were very light, almost unnaturally so. My initial reaction was that it was either Alicia or Lindsay, so I got up and stuck my ear to the wall behind me that separated Lindsay's room from mine. I could hear her faint but steady breathing. She was clearly asleep. It wasn't her. I then crossed over to the other side of my room, near the door, and once again stuck my ear to the wall. Alicia's snoring was quite audible, but there's no way it was her. I slowly began to grow fearful as I turned in a last resort to see if Stephanie had perhaps gotten up. But I could plainly see her resting form silently rising up and down. A shiver went down my spine, and I nearly screamed when I realized the footsteps had come to stop outside of my door. Despite all the lights being out, I could clearly see the looming dark shadow of a form through the tiny crack at the foot of my door. I dared not move. Whatever it was just standing there, waiting. Then, to my horror, my doorknob began to jiggle. Gently at first, but then growing violent at the realization it had been locked. The noise of it eventually woke up my roommate. She sat up blinking in confusion. That instant, the jiggling of the doorknob stopped. She asked me just what the hell I was doing, and if I knew what time it was. I told her it wasn't me. I told her that whatever had opened the door to the crawl space the previous day had come back, but she just furrowed her brow at me and said I needed to get more sleep. The next day, I made an appointment with my program supervisor. I told him that I just needed to go home. He tried to tell me that I was just homesick and that it would pass, but I insisted. He eventually gave up and let me call my parents, and they were confused but understanding. They were able to change the date of my return flight to the following morning. I really wanted to get out of there that day, but understandably that was the soonest that they could manage. Unfortunately, this meant I would have to stay one more night in that damned apartment. When I returned, I tried to tell the others about what had been going on. I knew I was going to be getting out of there and out of the danger, but I was immediately worried. None of them took me seriously. They looked at me as if I was a mad woman. I didn't say anything, but I was sure they all thought I was going home because of some sort of mental breakdown. At that point, there was nothing I could say that would convince them. So that night, I locked my door hesitantly, went to bed. And right on cue, once again around 2 o'clock in the morning, I was awoken by the rapid footsteps and scampering around the apartment. I could hear the door to the bathroom begin to creak open, followed by a door at the end of the hallway. Footsteps grew louder and faster as they moved through the apartment, and finally, once more, they came to a pause outside of my door. I could hear breathing this time, slow and heavy. I sat up in a panic. To my horror, I saw that Stephanie had forgotten to lock the door behind her after getting up to use the restroom. It was right outside my door, and I didn't know if I had the time to jump up and try and lock it before the thing realized there was nothing blocking its way. I hesitated a moment too long, and by the time I had sat up straight in my bed, the handle slowly began to turn. I froze in terror as the door cracked open, revealing my tormentor. It stood there ominously in the doorway, staring me down. The eyes protruded slightly from its skull, and it gave off a very faint, bluish light. It didn't appear to have a nose, only slits where the nostrils would have been. It had the teeth of a man, but no lips, giving the impression of an eternally toothy snarl. Its grayish-white skin was waxy and stretched tight over its bony face. The rest of its skeletal form was hard to make out, and as it was almost entirely enveloped in shadows. After pausing a moment in the doorway, it began to head towards me. As it moved, its body let out sickening cracks. I sat there still, petrified by fear, until it made its way to the foot of my bed. Its heavy breaths were deafeningly loud. I don't know how Stephanie slept through it. The air had begun to smell sour and stagnant. With frightening speed, it jolted to the other end of the bed, mere feet from me. I gagged at the smell of it, like sulfur and rotting flesh. Slowly it unfurled one of its gnarly hands and proceeded to reach for me. Not until it was several inches away from me did I finally find my voice. I screamed as loud as I possibly could, and it halted in its tracks. Stephanie shot up from her bed, visibly frightened. The creature hunched over on all fours and fled the room with unsettling movements that recalled those of a spider. Moments later, Stephanie switched the light on and looked at me furiously. She demanded to know what the fuss was all about. I told her exactly what had happened, and she called me a nutcase. The taxi arrived to pick me up very early the next morning. The sun did not even have risen in the square and was just setting at the base of my apartment. When I leaned to look out the window, I could see where my room had been. My face contorted into a mixture of panic and concern. There, looking out my old window, was the creature. Its unblinking eyes bored into me. Its lipless mouth curled into a snarling grin. Before I could say anything, the cab driver had taken off, leaving that hell house far behind. I tried to warn them. I really did. I did everything in my power to try and warn them of the danger that they were in, but none of them listened to me. There was no way I could have stopped what happened after I returned home. You see, several weeks after returning to the United States, I received a phone call from the program director. He had informed me that a day before the program ended, all 3 of my past roommates had been reported missing. The authorities had no idea how long they had actually been gone for, as they only recently discovered to be missing when the program director went to check up on them after none of them made it to the end of the program wrap-up meeting. They assumed it had been at least a week or 2 since all the food in my apartment was expired. There was no sign of forced entry. No valuables were missing. The only notable detail mentioned in the report was that when they arrived on the scene, there was a strange little door hanging ajar in the bathroom. When they approached it, they were met by a powerful odor coming from no visible source. The official report has declared as has declared them as missing, but I know that they're dead. And I know I'm incredibly lucky to have made it out with my life. I think the only reason I'm still alive today is because I fled thousands of miles and across an ocean. Despite their unwillingness to listen, I still feel an unimaginable amount of guilt over what happened to those girls. That's why I'm writing this now. I may not be able to go back in time and save them, but maybe I can prevent this from happening to you. Please, please heed my warning. If you ever get the opportunity to study abroad, keep this in mind. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. And whatever you do, don't stay on the 3rd floor of the ancient yellow apartment complex above the Campo di Fiori. There's something there. Something evil. And that was the crawl space.
Good job scaring Alia, by the way.
I had goosebumps. I specifically had goosebumps.
You have a new fan.
Alright. Murphy's got an update. We are currently at $7,913. Guys, please donate to the charity and push us over 8,000. That would be amazing.
That is our goal, to be over 8,000.
Please, if you can do this, that would be amazing.
It would literally do a lot, and we would be ecstatic.
We should do something ridiculous if we go over 8,000.
Like what?
We would love to have caused that. Thank you, Murphy, for keeping us updated.
Thank you very much. I didn't know he was watching until he first asked us if he thought that we could go over 800,000.
You know, man, Murphy's always prodding. Excuse me, I'll probably get killed after that. Alright. What are you going to be reading, sweetheart?
Oh, yeah? She is going to be reading Sleep Tight.
Alright.
She doesn't know the title.
Also, really quick, one thing about the crawl space that freaks me out is I am currently on an internship over here in Germany, and so I'm just like, in the middle of reading this, I'm like, I don't feel so comfortable in my room alone anymore.
Maria, and you also did have that one really creepy nightmare.
Oh, true. Yeah. Alright, so Alia.
Make sure to bolt your door.
Half a bolt.
There's something against it.
My chair is really.
You know, a lot of European houses have these little doors with extra rooms.
Actually, not helping.
Actually, in a chalet, one of my uncle's chalets, he in the back of the closet of the guest rooms, there's a little door leading to another room.
Oh, you told me about this.
Yeah, like,
if I ever go with you there, I am never going in that room because of that story.
in the back of the closet. Yeah.
No, what's really creepy is as I'm reading this, I'm facing, my back is facing the door, and I swear to Christ, I could just, like, hear the door swing open, and I'm like, no. Please.
By the way, while you were reading, there was static, so I think we missed.
There was static.
Please don't. This is not a good time.
It's thought form.
Alright, Alia, tell me whenever you're ready, sweetie.
Oh, whenever you start the music, I suppose.
Alright. You're making me feel so uncomfortable. Alright, let's go.
Mission accomplished. Many cultures have their own version of the boogeyman. A monster that lurks in the darkness, waiting to take children away to their shadowy domain. The weird thing is that sometimes kids see it before they even hear the stories about them. They feel the presence of something in their room, sometimes just outside their door or at the far end of a dark hallway. It is quite probable that this monster actually evolved as a survival technique, dating back to times when humans were tribal dwelling folk. If a small child wandered away from the camp, especially at night, chances are it would never be seen again. This fear may have developed simply to make sure we stayed in the safety of our own villages. But suppose, for a moment, that there is some validity to the idea of this supernatural being. Isn't it entirely possible that it is not at all evil or malicious? Many people believe in guardian angels. How do we know these aren't simply our guardians keeping an eye on us? The idea that an angel would use fear to keep us safe may sound strange, but the most efficient rulers tend to employ Machiavellian philosophy. It is better to rule with fear than love, but it is better to rule with love than hate. And while we're on the subject of the monster being real, have you ever heard of thought form? Thought form is the manifestation of mental energy. If enough people are pouring energy into the idea of a boogeyman, after a while, it will show up. So, when you lie awake at night, unable to sleep, what do you think about? Do you think about all the stressful things you have to do the next day? Perhaps it's anticipation for some event that is approaching. Or is it because of the sensation that you are being watched in the dark? The feeling you get from unseen eyes as they silently observe you tossing and turning in bed. The thought of knowing that even though you are safe in your own room, there is a creature lying in wait just beyond the foot of your bed. Sleep tight.
You are a wonderful creature, Alia.
Thank you.
Okay, that was Sleep Tight.
Alia, lovely, lovely, lovely lady. Alright. Aqua, what do we have coming up?
Well, because we only have about 20 minutes left in our stream, because we're only doing this for 2 hours.
Do the survival thing now?
Yeah, because that one takes a while.
Alright. So, whoops, we left the best for last. This is a survival guide on how to survive creepypastas. So, how do you want to break this up? Do you want to do, you read 1, I read 2, Alia reads 3, etc.?
Sure. And then for the starting paragraph, I'll read the first one, Alia can read the second, and you can read the third.
Alright.
Okay.
And I want to do narration off for this one. Music off. Yep, narration off, definitely.
Yeah. By the way, for those of you who have not listened to Mr. Creepypasta and Murphy's telling of this, you should, because they are really good. I've listened to both of them. They are my favorite. I love them. Literally, I listen to them. I listen to both of those all the time.
Before we close out, we would like to thank any who have attended at any point in the stream for listening to our stupidity. And we would like to thank any person who has donated to the charity. We could not be doing this without you.
We are, again, really thankful for everyone who has donated, because without everyone's support, we really wouldn't be doing this at all. And I'm just really glad to know that by doing this, we are helping someone in need. And as Homie Park Academy says, together we achieve.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool stuff. Woo! Alright. Beck, start us out for the last story of the night.
Are you doing music?
Nope.
For this one? Okay, then I will be off. We've all been there. You have just gone to a certain place at a certain time, on a certain date, done a special thing, and that thing you suspected would happen has just fucking happened. Not to mention the fact that you've just seen whatever the fuck lives in your mirror, been told how you will die in detail, and the highly demonic and invincible thing you summoned is heading towards you.
Okay. Also, your family are all dead. Your friends are all missing, and you're being framed by someone with access to your bedroom. What the fuck do you do now, sweet protagonist?
Well, you've come to the right place to find out. These are simple rules one must follow in order to firstly not become the victim of creepypasta, and furthermore to come out kicking if the worst does happen. With the help of this guide, you too can merely be catatonic, traumatized wreck, as opposed to the guy currently being worn as a coat by some dude who roams a lot. Just keep these simple rules in mind.
1. Mirrors and darkness do not mix.
2. Actually, mirrors.
Okay, go over here.
2. Actually, mirrors are a general no in the creepypasta world. There is nothing more sinister.
There is 0 chance of survival if you look at the thing that no one else can see or answer its question incorrectly.
4. If you are alone at night in a creepy mental institution, take some time to consider what the fuck you are doing there. Then if it is appropriate to do so, leave.
5. Avoid going to places where everyone else who went there never came back or died inexplicably.
6. If someone stops your vehicle at night and asks to come with you, it would probably be in your best interest to politely decline.
In both real life and creepypasta.
Oh yeah.
Yes. 7. Killing is the last method of survival. Use it sparingly, but without fear.
8. Who was phone? It's always a good thing to ponder. Also, who the hell answers a phone while having sex with a dead person's sexy daughter? A creepy rapist, that's who.
9. Get a simple .32 revolver.
38.
38. Oh, crud.
Specific.
Loaded with 2 silver bullets. If you really feel there is no chance to come alive out of a situation, take 1 shot at whatever it is that is threatening you. If this doesn't work, you still have the last shot to become a tragic hero with.
10. Area 51 is simply too well guarded to let you in, or to let any alien out.
11. When going to hotels, try to stay clear of unauthorized areas. If you couldn't resist, but you saw a red thing, take some time to consider the price range and the hotel standards on your next visit. Have you ever stayed at a haunted Hilton?
Oh.
12.
When booking your hotel stay, TripAdvisor can be an invaluable tool in deeming whether your choice is the scene of a multiple murder full of dead people or built at the mouth of hell. Local newspapers can also be helpful.
13. Invoking demons, speaking weird languages, and performing rituals of any kind is considered dangerous. Refrain from doing that, especially around abandoned warehouses, churches, psychiatric institutions, and the woods, and in your house in front of a mirror at night.
Mirrors are bad. We already know this. 14. When going to a new area, environmental understanding is a key to survival. Ask around for cursed places, legends, dangers, and other details. Listen to local people's advice, and don't be afraid to ask if you're unsure of which attacks/disappearances are paranormal and which aren't.
Oh, a 13.
15.
A 15. Sorry, you were moving the phone.
I'm sorry.
Always have a Bible next to your bed. Provides average reading material, proof of beliefs, and really heavy and effective objects to throw at enemies.
Amen.
16. Don't count on holy water. Get a sturdy vial of sulfuric acid and let a priest consecrate it. I said that wrong.
Bless it.
Have a priest bless it. Thank you.
17. Japanese priests cleanse rooms by waving katana swords around. Their ritual is 100% effective on corporeal forms.
18. If you find 666 messages on your phone, mailbox, email, etc., consider changing the said service provider. Also, don't bother listening to / reading the messages. It's spam. Extra dimensional, possibly, but spam nonetheless.
19. Old pharmaceutical companies cannot help you unless you specifically need blood of the innocent, snake oil, and radioactive syrup, which is never.
20. If you need to sign it in blood, you do not sign it. All mainstream governing bodies will accept contracts signed in ink. Bear this in mind if offered details that seem too good to be true.
21. Lighthouses are dangerous. Avoid them at all costs. If you work at a lighthouse, consider a career in insurance sales or veterinary care. Have you ever raised 3 skeleton key?
22. There is simply no reason to listen to music that causes suicidal tendencies, aka Lavender Town.
Oh, yes. 23. Or watch films that have had strange/disastrous consequences. Lost episodes.
Exactly.
24. If you like to plan ahead and have some money, buy your auntie and uncle a house in Bel Air. Nothing can... Yes.
Nothing can harm you.
Okay, well, she said something else. Nothing can harm you there, no matter how scared your mother is.
25. Secret, secluded, untouched places in old buildings are left untouched for a reason. Pioneers never say die, but in fact they do have an unusually high mortality rate.
Before you start swimming, 26. Before you start swimming in the ice-cold waters of Immersive Key Lake at the center of a dark forest at midnight, ask yourself, do you really want to travel to an ancient, terrifying city? If the answer is no, then stay at home instead and watch whatever quality programming is available at Cinemax. Which means boobs. I approve this message.
27. On your 33rd birthday, try celebrating it in a well-lit house with the company of others.
28. Refrain from using the one true name for anything. There's probably a reason why people gave it a nick.
29. Watching TV static for long periods may be hazardous to your health. Try satellite TV or Freeview to combat this problem. Netflix and the internet streaming are also very effective.
30. Get a cat. Those furry little hairballs seem to perceive unnatural phenomena better than us, and if desperate, simply throw at whatever is about to get you.
31. Safety in numbers. If you're getting a bit too freaked out, grab a few friends, any and all firearms, and avoid the area in question.
Safety in numbers. 32. Cemeteries are bad places, especially in foggy conditions and on Halloween.
33. Try not to close your eyes, ever. If you must do so only briefly. If something has moved from its original location in the time it has taken you to blink, weeping angels, it is recommended that you do not blink again until you have dealt with said object. Fire is presumably the best method.
Alright.
34. If you ever find an unmarked tape which contains the file extension .avi, even if it is of your favorite kids show, do not, under any circumstances, watch that tape. Now, if the extension is .mts, that's a different matter altogether.
35. If you hear chanting, run until you are out of earshot.
36. If you are too old to play with dolls, you do not need to be anywhere near one of those creepy little fuckers.
Oh, hey, look, there are 3 right up there.
Oh, shit.
37. Legends can offer valuable insights where not to go camping. 37. Legends can offer valuable insight of where not to go camping with friends.
38. When babysitting, ascertain the family's tastes and preferences to avoid being killed by poorly selected statues. I know this reference.
Weeping angels. 39. Even if you are certain that running will not save you, it is always best to try.
40. If you ever go to buy a used video game, whether it is a game shop or a garage sale, never ever buy the one with the weird-looking cartridge that includes string colors, ripped-off labels with the title written in marker. The latter tends to happen more often than not. For the daring, don't just buy said game to become famous. Your chances of becoming an internet celebrity because of it can only work if you know how to program. You should also be highly suspicious of games priced too cheaply and bootlegs.
41. If you decide to buy the used game anyway, rip that son of a bitch out of your console the moment it starts acting funny and take a fucking hammer to it.
42. If you ever see a strangely new-looking doorway with a strange face on it on a building you swore you didn't see at first, and the building happens to be in an old chateau, don't fucking open it.
34. It is probably best to refrain from looking up on Google the phrase "huskies with grins." You'll just end up having to spread the word.
Look that up.
Actual 44.
Look up that.
Yes. That's actually the first creepypasta I ever read, and it was to a group of 6th graders I was tutoring at Coahomie, actually.
That was actually one of the first ones I heard read on YouTube. The first one I read, my brother showed me, and it was String Theory.
It was the first one that I watched on YouTube, the Smiling Dog.
No.
One of us.
44. Never allow someone to take a picture with you if it's an outdated camera. If it's too late, your only bet is to gamble with death. Or just to trap him in a photo. That works too.
45. Don't play with dolls if they come with a needle or a defect, especially a defect.
46. Born Ouija boards. But be sure to have one of those car fresheners handy. The real reason why spirits get pissed off is because of that foul aroma that it produces when it burns.
But I love Ouija boards. You'll laugh at the other end.
47. Never confront animated puppets physically. Subdue them all with spells, or they'll come back with minions or in a real body.
That would be one of the creepiest things that I will never try.
Yeah, don't.
48. If you find yourself unable to escape, dancing may ward off the entity. Doing the hokey pokey is known to ward off curious monsters, but you might have to do the moonwalk to deal with zombies.
Hey, can it be Thriller?
Yeah. Can you see why this is one of my favorites?
Yes. Continue.
49. If you are checking your computer for viruses and you go too deep into System 32, refrain from clicking on any AVI files. If you do not heed this warning, creepy videos on YouTube. I thought that they were saying YouTube. Creepy videos on you, dude.
50. If you see old tapes containing the words happy or appy, pretend you never saw them. Just go on with your life. It'll just end up invoking some sort of whacked out, coked up director of an old children's show. You'll have to wind up having to pull with some thanks for the ride shit to kill them.
51. If you buy a used camcorder and find the previous owner left one of their tapes inside, refrain from watching that tape, no matter how tempting it may be.
52. Be careful when buying an old second-hand TV.
53. If you see a guy with both an incredibly large smile and black and white eyes, extricate yourself from the premises post-haste.
Oh, well, hello, Jeff.
50. Don't go to a friend's house to bake cupcakes if they have random spurts of insanity.
But you love
Why, Aqua, I wonder who's over at your house right now.
Exactly. Don't tell her my plans. 55. Phone companies with low coverage are best avoided.
56. .exe files with strange names are not safe. Don't open them.
57. For the love of Neptune, turn off your fucking faucet when you're done with it.
58. If you are told not to look behind you, it is better not to do so unless you are against the wall.
This is why I always sit against walls while I'm reading. 59. Also, do not listen to anybody who tells you to go to sleep. It's better to run away. We all know where that reference is going. Don't mention it, but we all know where that reference is going.
Yep.
Goodness.
We also know
60.
where the next reference is going.
If you see a tall man with tentacles, run. Slender man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a sensitive topic. Don't.
Yes, it is. 61. Don't enter strange websites.
Oh, well, look where we are now. 62. Don't enter strange places. Do not do it. That's not wise.
Not even in real life or with the Creepypastaverse. Do not do it.
Not even
Ever.
in video games. 63. Not even strange videos.
64. If a woman who covers her mouth asks you if she is beautiful, tell her she's average. It'll prevent her from slicing your mouth.
Japanese. No, don't touch it. All right. 65.
So many creepy
No
things happen.
good can ever come from owning a shiny Pokemon. I'm talking to you, third. Alright.
Oh, 66. If you're an intern at a cartoon studio and you happen to be reviewing a new episode, make sure the episode is safe for work before viewing that shit.
67. Don't be so excited when being asked to look behind you, but don't take forever. No reason to keep certain deaths waiting.
68. Oh. Weird shit in Europe won't hurt you in the United States. Leave that to Creep Scarecrow in the Creepy Dark and Mama Midnight.
I'm a midnight currently.
God fucking damn it. Okay.
Oh.
Anyway.
Ollie, is it okay if I steal your read right there? Yeah. And then you can steal mine. Weird shit. 69. Weird shit in the United States won't hurt you in Europe.
Maturity
Damn.
level
Your
69.
shit in the States won't hurt me. Until I get
Your
back.
shit won't hurt us.
Yeah.
70. If you break Rule 54, there is always a chance of rescue.
Ollie, I see you.
54.
I mean, not you. I mean, it's Maria. I mean,
What?
Go midnight.
Oh. It's her, then it's you.
No, I took hers and then
Oh,
took
yeah.
mine.
Alright.
So we're gonna
If
read.
your brother is tired of noise, or if your close friend or has a brother like that, refrain from going into his basement unless you want to be tortured, raped, and killed. Especially raped. Isn't that right, Mr. Creepypasta?
And then you go ahead and read that, and we'll be back in our own.
72. If you buy a memory card and it has saved data in it, delete all of the saves.
Oh dear, I sold my old memory card to my brother's friends. Woo! With memory still saved on it. Hope you just
Are
followed
you
that.
trying to start some bang ground shit?
He's gonna die.
Hope
Yeah.
you deleted all that stuff.
7 days.
73. If you get a drawing of Sonic on a...
What?
What?
Oh yeah, it is you. No, it's not. Is it?
No.
Yeah, it's you.
Yes, it's me. I let Ollie...
It's nearly
If
midnight.
you get a drawing of Sonic on a disc, and the only file on that disc is an EXE file called Sonic, don't play it. Destroy it, or a demonic being that looks like a Sonic plushie might kill you. If he chooses not to, he will scar you for life.
If you see what appears to be a 12-year-old kid with black shorts, gray and bloody shirt, red shades, dark gray skin, and with a maniac grin, do not, under any circumstances, piss him off. Unless you're a werepire or brave.
Vampire. Even on Christmas, 75. Even on Christmas, paranormal shit can happen. Like in Doctor Who. Every single Christmas.
Yep. 76. Neighbors may have a darker side. If they do things that seem off for them, act normal.
Hee 77.
Good guy to live next to you.
In addition to Rule 77, if you hear foreign voices from your body, that means that you've been body jacked.
78. If you are an adult and notice that you are being stalked by a guy with a black suit, long arms, and no face, reach for the nearest child and throw him or her at him, then run like hell.
Aqua's the youngest.
God dang it! I'm the youngest.
All right, let's all read the last one together, okay? But 79.
79. If you are a child in the same situation, run like hell before said adult uses you to satisfy aforementioned beings craving a hunger. If you do not manage to escape before that adult snacks you, try bargaining with this Slender Man, so that the adult has more delicious flesh.
80. The Slender Man, said monster, described in the last two tips, feeds on paranoia. If you remember Slender Man only wants a hug, he won't go after you. But if Slender Man does stalk you, run, man! And 81 all together now.
If all else fails, give
Give
Slender
Man $20
and he should leave you alone.
And thank you all. My name is Midnight. And this is
Still a lot more.
This is Aqua and Alia. And
Yeah.
thank you so much. Please, 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 please donate to the charity and follow up. This is my channel. Aqua's channel will be linked in the comments if you want to check her out. And Alia, do you have a channel?
Do you have a YouTube?
No.
No, she does not have a YouTube.
Yeah,
You don't have to if you don't want to.
well, if she is there, then you can find her.
YouTube. She does have a Facebook, but I doubt she wants that linked.
What?
You do have a Facebook, but I doubt you want that linked to this.
That is very correct. Alright, no, but seriously, thank you guys. Thank you for raising so much money for this charity. We could not have done this without you. My name is Midnight. We are going way too long for this. Good night.
We went 6 minutes over what we had planned, whatever.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much for being with us for these 2 hours. They were a lot of fun for us.
Woo!
And
Woo!
I hope you guys liked my little introduction into reading this that Midnight kind of got me into. Because I'm really excited to start narrating and stuff. So, yeah. Hope I'll see you guys all soon on my channel.
Alright, thank you MCP Murphy for setting up the original stream which inspired us to do this. Thank you Mango and crew for setting up the second stream. And we are welcome for setting up this stream. Bye-bye.
And thank you Myuuji for the music. It's always wonderful.
Thank you Myuuji for the music, yes. And that was off of his new album which you can purchase on Google Play and iTunes. Thank you, Barnabas, for helping us pick out stories. Alright, this is the 4th time that I've said goodbye. This is for real now. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Adios.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.